hey, look at that, we'll actually be finishing a stage in 2 parts this time.
Wonderful.
Whoa.
Now,
Mostly because this is kind of a short... The later half of the stage is basically a boss thing.
This is one of the shorter levels in the game.
Oh, so you get to do a boss fairly early in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are more bosses in this game, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of them even still.
Because I remember Doom 2016 had like 3 bosses, and the first
Yep.
one was like 2/3 of the way through the game.
Yep.
Yes.
ooh,
Okay.
Commander Keen. That's nostalgic. Anyway, I wanted to rant about one thing in particular about this goddamn controller that I didn't have time for.
Oh god.
What is it with certain controller designers and this weird obsession with making circular D-pads?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either.
I mean, that's like making an analog stick and locking it down to 4 directions, isn't it? It's kinda, like, antithetical to the reason that thing exists on the controller.
Like,
I mean,
guess
I don't
you
mind
could...
the idea of the base kind of plastic being round with the D-pad on top of it, but...
No, it's awful.
I guess the idea is that it fits more comfortably on your thumb.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that the idea is so that you can, like, roll your thumb around it, even though you can do that with other controllers anyway.
That's what the analog stick is for. The reason
Yeah.
that a D-pad is supposed to be 4-directional is so that you can very, very easily make sure that you are pointing either in one of the 4 cardinal directions or diagonally. Exactly diagonally.
The D-pad's for precision. It's what you use for, like, menuing in an RPG, or, like, moving in a platformer or something.
Like,
if you want smooth feeling, you usually use the analog
2
stick.
days ago, I was streaming Tomb Raider Anniversary on my Twitch channel, and I kept making the mistake of using the menu screen, of using the inventory menu with the analog stick, and with the slightest motion downward, like if I wasn't going exactly left or exactly right on the analog stick, it would switch up or down from the weapon menu to the key item menu and back again.
Oh yeah, that sucks whenever that happens.
Yeah, and that kind of thing happening with an analog stick is common, but when I tried, say, playing Devil May Cry 4 on the Xbox 360, and playing as Dante, and style switching with the D-pad, it didn't work. It's like, you know, you kind of need those 4 buttons to work as intended, but if you go and accidentally hit it slightly diagonal because it's a goddamn slippery circular D-pad, you might accidentally switch to whatever down is assigned to instead of whatever left is assigned to.
So on the whole, I think the 360 controller is actually very well designed. Like, it's sturdy, it feels good in your hands, the buttons are nice, except for that D-pad.
The D-pad is not my only problem with that. The other problem that I have with it is that it started this really annoying trend of putting the left analog stick where the D-pad should be. It's like...
I prefer it being up there,
I
personally.
don't. If you're comfortable constantly using your right thumb on the lower analog stick, there's nothing stopping you from also doing that on your left side. But
It's just a matter of what gets used more, because the buttons get used more than the right control stick, right?
That depends
so it
on
makes
what
more
kind of
sense
game you're playing, really. If you're playing a
I would
shooter,
say-
not really. And we're talking about the Xbox here, so you're probably playing a shooter. But like, I don't know, it's just awkward. I always wind up accidentally hitting the goddamn analog stick when I'm trying to transfer to the other one. And, you know, if it was just the Xbox, I wouldn't be quite so annoyed by that. But the goddamn... where is it? Everything, basically everything but the PlayStation does it now.
Yeah, because it's better.
No, I think it has something to do with some patent or other that PlayStation has on their controllers, maybe.
I mean, I don't know where Sony gets the idea that they can patent the Super Nintendo controller, but whatever.
No, I mean on their dual analog stick controller.
I know. I'm just dicking around.
If they do have a patent on it, it probably just extends back to when they first invented their dual analog stick controller, back when Nintendo was doing the weird
three arm controller thing.
Yeah, that
Oh
thing.
yeah, we already made fun of the N64 controller. We can't pick on it too bad.
Oh, you absolutely can. It's the worst controller.
No, I would play that in a heartbeat over something like the Dreamcast controller, which is,
Really?
in my opinion, like abysmal. That thing's
At
analog.
least I can reach
stick.
the buttons on that thing.
The only good thing about the N64 controller is that it invented analog control, but even the analog stick itself is horribly designed. Okay? If you
okay,
get
so
an actual official Nintendo 64 controller these days, odds are the analog stick is broken because it's on this dual set of hinges. It's not like a rolling analog stick the way you would get from modern controllers. No, there's a left and right hinge, and then there's a vertical hinge, and you analog by moving the two hinges at the same time. But of course, that wears out pretty damn fast, especially if you're doing things that are analog intensive, which
Spinning the control stick from Mario Party.
I might remind you is, yeah, pretty much half the N64's library is going to destroy the controller. It's the worst.
Listen, all right, you just need to grow an extra arm like the rest of us, okay? God, oh man,
Just use a friend.
Yeah, just use a friend.
And,
Exactly.
you know, Nintendo's controller design fail extends into the goddamn GameCube era as well. I know.
Oh no!
People,
Lewis is gonna talk down about the GameCube
lots of
controller.
people love the GameCube controller, and for 90% of the controller, I would agree with that. But then they had to go and put a hexagonal circle over the analog stick so that it locks into 8 directions, which is what the D-pad is supposed to do.
Yeah, but that would involve using the D-pad on the GameCube, which is a mistake.
You know, if I wanted to play a game that only pretended to have analog control but was in fact 8-directional, I'd go back and play Gex again. But, like, the analog
What, no
stick...
love for Croc?
The analog stick is... No, Croc is 10 controls.
Croc is bad, too, so you shouldn't love it, so...
Croc is good, but it's also 10 controls, so...
I'm gonna agree to disagree with you there, but okay.
Also, Croc 2 is better. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, analog control, and why it's not supposed to be 8-directional. Okay, the reason you want an analog stick is so that you have full 360-degree movement with full, completely customizable by touch speed modulation when you're controlling things. You know, the things that you can't get by playing WASD on a keyboard. So, naturally, Nintendo designed their analog stick to be 8-directional. Where
Well, you can do 360. It's
yeah,
just
you just have to you just have to pull back on the analog stick a little. Oh wait, that also slows down your speed. It's such a bad analog stick. I'm sorry.
You don't like the clickety-clackities of spinning the analog stick?
The Xbox One
You
controller.
don't need your analog stick to be broken in a specific way in order to do your combos.
No.
Well,
I'm
I
not even
imagine
joking.
That
They're
the 8-directional analog stick actually does help with fighting game combos. But if you're playing a fighting game with an analog stick, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. D-pad's better.
Not for Smash.
It's not an option in Smash Brothers.
Well, no, if you're holding your Wii remote sideways,
Oh yeah, that's a.
it's literally the worst way to play the game, but you can do it if you want.
I mean,
I have a friend who swears by playing it on its side.
Sabrina too. She plays it.
Yeah,
on
that's who I'm
on
talking
us.
about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
I didn't
I
want to
mean,
call
honestly,
her out.
I feel like Smash Brothers probably would feel pretty good on a D-pad. I would think. So it's weird that they never, with all the
It relies too much on drifting and tilts.
Oh yeah,
for
there
things,
are
so.
tilts. I mean, I
But,
guess that's
you know.
true, but I'm sure they could make it work.
I-
If they let you
also
have
have
the
to-
Z button be jump, I'm sure that they can find a way to program a D-pad for Smash.
You
do
also have to
understand.
move like it's Kirby. Like you have to double tap to dash.
I do
Oh,
understand.
I like doing that though.
I do kind of understand that there are certain games where having an 8-directional analog stick would be beneficial. I'm not so silly in the head to not realize that. But here's the thing. If you need to make your analog stick 8-directional, you can very easily design just a little bit of plastic that fits onto your controller that fixes your analog stick into 8 directions, the way the GameCube controller would. So,
Okay, so here's the thing. You're reminding me of all those Game Boy accessories, like the ones where you could like tape an analog stick on top of your Game Boy. That
Oh, you mean
also,
the one that's an analog stick, and then the one that's a magnifying glass, and the one that's stereo speakers, and the one that's
and then
You
your
just make your-
Game
your-
Boy's
your-
the size of a
yeah,
the size
I
of
remember
a
the
milk carton.
days
Yeah.
when the big kid on the school block would try to turn their Game Boy into a fucking hot rod. It was not a good time.
Yeah, I mean the freaking light never worked. I had one of those, like the one with the little curly wire.
I was gonna say you had the dongle light, not the like overhead light.
No, I had the dongle light, which was basically all it did was put glare on the screen and waste
Yeah.
battery. It didn't really help. You were better off holding it close to the windows of the car
And as the street lights
using
pass
street
by.
light, using
So-
street lights.
What the heck is this thing?
The Doom Hunter.
It's metal
This is
as
the
hell.
Doom Hunter.
It's
It's dope as
yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
This was a boss in one of the old games, right?
So
Yeah,
it's
sort
it
of.
looks like it's inspired by a boss from Doom 3, oddly enough. But
What?
aside from its aesthetic, it's basically a completely new demon.
Okay, that's cool. Honestly, I think it's okay for them to take parts of Doom 3 and try to like make it
Yeah.
Oh,
new Doom.
If it worked, it's fine.
yeah, even like Devil May Cry 5, for example, took a surprising number of ideas from the DMC reboot and just reworked.
Well, I mean, the
them.
DMC reboot was never its inherent gameplay. It was everything
Well, it's
else.
not just the gameplay that it took. The dynamic music that would ramp up in intensity as your style rating went up was a DMC reboot thing. You probably didn't notice it in the DMC reboot because the music itself was so forgettable, but it was something that happened. So, like in DMC 5, if you're hearing the lyrics to the battle music, it's probably because you're at S rank, and
that's a really cool touch.
yeah,
now
that is really cool, and it gives you, an extra incentive in the moment to try and keep your combos up. Makes you feel cool.
I mean, a lot of games.
The video, but the audio as well.
I mean, a lot of games do that these days. I mean, this game does it. technically.
So I know that there are plenty of games that change the music based on your location. They've been doing that since, I think, the first example I can think of is Banjo-Kazooie, but it's happened before that game for sure.
Mario 64 did it.
Yeah, Mario 64.
There were versions of Dire Docks that would change depending if you were underwater or running around.
Oh yeah, that. I don't
and-
think Devil May Cry does that kind of thing though, because whenever the battle theme is playing, it's just based on what character you're controlling at the time.
Yeah, well, no, it's just a matter of technically having different versions that fade in or out depending on what's going on in
Yeah,
game.
but what I'm struggling to think of is versions that change depending on how well you're doing in the game.
I mean, Jet Set Radio.
Okay, I guess that's true. I haven't played that game. I know that people really like
Yeah, well, I know
music to it, though.
games that are based on music tend to do that a fair bit. Usually in at least fairly basic ways, like you can turn this off, but in the Hatsune Miku games, the lyrics will skip if you miss a note, unless you turn it off,
Yeah.
and like I do, because I
Yeah,
find
that
it
happens
skip.
in Guitar Hero too. If you screw up, you get the crank kind of guitar screechy sort of noise, and if you are not playing notes, then no guitar will play. So like it happens in rhythm games. There's at least one action game I can think of that does something similar to that. I can't. I know that it's in at least one that I played. I'm struggling to think of which game it is. But I think it's something that could be done in more games because that sounds like a really, really cool kind of element that could be done in a lot of games.
It certainly
Yeah.
is.
The way that it's done in the Doom reboots is kind of interesting. I wouldn't say that it's exactly like a dynamic soundtrack that changes like the better you play. It's more like reacting to what's happening around you. Like it's not like it's adding more instruments on top of it. It's fully written compositions, I guess, that the dude who wrote it wrote like a bunch of heavier.
Gordon,
yeah, Mick Gordon's fantastic. He wrote
Are you fighting
like a bunch of
two of these motherfuckers?
Yes.
Yeah, you fought one. The second phase is just fighting two of them.
Great.
So basically, he wrote like calm parts, heavier parts, and then parts for when you're in like big boy combat zone, and bridges in between that. And usually, like the bridges kick in once you kick off a glory kill. So it's like the song is assembling itself as you play, which is really neat, and reacting to how intense the battle is.
He's also the guy crazy enough to make a Mark of the Demon in the waveform of the track.
I do like
Yeah.
What?
I do
Wait.
like it when games do things with like the different, I want to say, layers of a particular music track. Like, this is a really basic example, but Pokemon Black and White. You would find
Oh, that one, yeah.
you would find people playing instruments throughout the town, and you could talk to them to turn those
Oh,
instruments
yeah.
on, and it would turn on different layers of the music track for the town.
It's such a small thing, but the bridge town where it starts off with just a really like simple thing, and then as you talk to more and more people, you get all the oh god, Pokemon Black and White had such a goddamn good soundtrack.
And then
it is
in Super Mario Galaxy, as you collected more stars and opened up more of the Comet Observatory theme would itself gain more layers.
yeah, that is also a goddamn great soundtrack. I love Mario Galaxy so much.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Did-
Part of me prefers Odyssey now that I've had the time to absorb both.
Oh, that game's great too. It's just a matter of what
they're
mood you're
going
in
for
me.
Yeah, they're kind of just different takes on 3D Mario.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I thought that
in my case,
I thought
it's
that
more
Odyssey
that-
was a bit too open-ended for me.
in my case, it's more that Galaxy does the orchestra. Odyssey does the orchestra, but it also does jazz and other things alongside it, so it feels more varied in that sense.
I will give you that in terms of the soundtrack to Odyssey has
Oh.
more variety than.
This
Oh,
guy
shit.
disagreed with Doom Guy's take on Mario music, so he had to die.
How
mean, he's
dare
killed
you
for
say
less,
Odyssey
so-
has a better soundtrack? And hey, we took his penny.
No,
Take your loot coin back.
there's lore reasons for the coin thing that the game itself doesn't say much about.
He's
It's kinda weird.
Doom Guy is selling all of his demon coin cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Doom coin, yeah.
Doom coin.
The stocks have plummeted. Take them back.
Cryptocurrency for a post-apocalyptic universe. You know, if you just don't want to pay for everything in bottle caps.
Yeah, bottle coin.
I'm talking about Fallout. You didn't.
I know, and then that would be a really terrible thing if Fallout made like some kind of cryptocurrency for Fallout 76.
Don't
or
give
whatever.
Bethesda ideas.
Oh, well, it's already out there, so if it shows up, I want a cut of that paycheck. Bethesda.
No, they'll claim it's their own original idea like they tried to claim mods.
Ah, fuck.
God.
See you in the next part of Doom Eternal.